The WNBA's officiating crisis has finally reached a breaking point, and it took NBA Commissioner Adam Silver stepping in to fix it. The same referees who swallowed their whistles while Caitlin Clark got kneed in the quad, who told her she initiated the contact, who have been letting opponents target the face of the league for 3 years with no consequences, they've been suspended. Multiple reports confirm. The news broke at 9:47 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday morning, less than 48 hours after the Fever's 88-75 loss to the Valkyries. The WNBA had issued a statement that sent shockwaves through the league office and had every player, coach, and executive scrambling for answers. Multiple officials from Wednesday night's game had been suspended, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was the one who had made it happen. The official statement was terse, almost clinical. Following a review of the officiating in the July 16 game between the Indiana Fever and Golden State Valkyries, the WNBA has suspended 3 officials pending further investigation. It didn't name names. It didn't explain the specific violations. But everyone knew exactly which officials were involved and exactly which play had triggered the action. Gerda Gatling, the official who had told Caitlin Clark she initiated the contact after Kaya Stokes kneed her in the quad, was one of them. The other 2 who had been on the court that night were also suspended. What made the announcement truly stunning was the admission that Adam Silver had personally intervened. According to league sources, the NBA commissioner had contacted WNBA leadership directly after seeing the viral footage of Clark's heated exchange with Gatling. Silver had been monitoring the officiating crisis for weeks, ever since the Alyssa Thomas throat punch incident had drawn national attention and congressional scrutiny. But the knee to Clark's quad and the subsequent explanation had been the final straw. Silver made it clear that the WNBA's officiating standards were damaging the league's credibility. With the new broadcast deal worth $2.2 billion and the league's profile at an all-time high, he told WNBA officials that the product on the court needed to match the investment in the product off the court. Translation: protect the players who are making. The Gainbridge Fieldhouse crowd was buzzing on Friday night, but it wasn't just because the Fever were hosting the Dallas Wings. The energy in the building was different, louder, more charged. The fans knew the suspensions had been announced. They knew the officials from Wednesday night were gone, and they were ready to see if the replacements would be any different. The new crew took the floor with a noticeable stiffness. They had been called up on short notice, and the weight of the moment was visible in their body language. Every whistle was met with scrutiny. Every call was dissected. The fans had become hyper-aware of the officiating in a way that was almost uncomfortable, almost like they were waiting for something to go wrong. Clark checked into the game with the same minutes restriction that had been in place since her back injury. She played 25 minutes, just like she had against the Valkyries. But this time, she looked different, faster, sharper. The hesitation that had plagued her since the Thomas incident was gone. The Wings had no answer for the new-look Fever. Clark finished with 17 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds in the 92-78 victory. But the stat line that truly stood out was on the other side of the box score, 8 free throw attempts. Clark had gotten to the line 8 times, more than she had in any game since before the back injury. The replacements were calling the game differently. The physicality that had been allowed against Clark for 3 years was suddenly being whistled. The bumps that used to go uncalled were now fouls. The contact that had been dismissed as initiated by the shooter was now being penalized. Stephanie White noticed immediately. During a first-quarter timeout, she turned to Clark and said something that made the superstar smile. The cameras caught it, the fans saw it. The internet exploded with speculation about what had been said. Clark wasn't talking after the game. She kept a press conference brief, deflecting questions about the officiating and focusing on the team's performance. But her teammates were less reserved. "I think the way the game was called tonight was fair," Kelsey Mitchell said. "Both teams got calls. Nobody was allowed to get away with stuff that should have been called. That's all we've ever asked for." Sophie Cunningham? Never. The texts started flooding in at 6:32 p.m. on Saturday, just hours before the Fever were set to tip off against the Connecticut Sun. Journalists, agents, and front office personnel across the WNBA were receiving the same information simultaneously, and the scramble to confirm the details was immediate. The WNBA's Director of Referee Operations had accidentally sent an internal memo to the entire league office distribution list instead of just the officiating staff. The memo was titled, RAW, Officiating Standards, Caitlin Clark Protocol. Multiple sources confirmed the contents within minutes. The memo outlined a new, stricter officiating standard for games involving the Indiana Fever. It explicitly directed referees to be more vigilant about illegal contact on Clark, specifically calling out plays where the defender makes significant body contact with the shooter's landing space and closeouts that endanger the shooter's lower body. It also noted that officials should err on the side of protecting the shooter rather than allowing play to continue. The directive didn't mention Clark by name exactly, but the language made it abundantly clear who the intended beneficiary was, and the fallout was immediate. The WNBA's Referees Union issued a statement within hours expressing deep concern about the memo's implications. The statement didn't explicitly threaten a strike, but the language was careful and deliberate. "We welcome guidance and instruction," the statement read, "but we must ensure that the integrity of the game is maintained and that officials are not pressured into making calls that compromise the competitive balance of the sport." The Players Association also weighed in. Their statement was more cautious but no less pointed. "The PA is aware of the leaked memo and is reviewing it with our legal team. We will continue to advocate for the safety of all players while ensuring that the league's officiating policies are applied consistently and without bias." Stephanie White was asked about the memo after the Sun game. She didn't confirm or deny its authenticity, but her tone made it clear she had seen it. "I can't comment on internal league communications," she said carefully. "But I will say that we've been asking for consistency. That's all we've ever asked." The officials walked into the locker room at Mohegan Sun Arena with something they hadn't carried in years: leverage. The memo was out. The league's secret directive had been exposed, and the referees' union was prepared to use it as ammunition in a fight that had been brewing for months. The tip-off against the Sun was still 2 hours away, but the tension in the building was already unbearable. Players from both teams had seen the texts, coaches had been fielding questions all day, and the referees had made a decision that no one saw coming. According to multiple league sources, the officiating crew assigned to the game had threatened to walk out just minutes before tip-off. They demanded that the WNBA publicly clarify the memo's intent, or they would refuse to work the game. The league office scrambled, back-channel negotiations ensued, and a compromise was reached just before the teams took the floor. The referees would work the game, but they would issue a joint statement after the final buzzer. The statement would address the memo without explicitly criticizing the league's directive. It would emphasize the importance of consistency and the need for officials to call the game as they see it, not as they are told to see it. When the ball went up, the game was called tighter than any Fever game in recent memory. The Sun players were visibly frustrated by the increased whistles. The pace was choppy. The rhythm was disrupted. And Clark, despite being fouled more aggressively than in recent games, got to the line consistently. But the officiating wasn't the story of the night. The story was the statement. The officials assigned to tonight's game have reviewed the leaked memo and are committed. The WNBA Players Association convened an emergency meeting on Sunday morning. The league's new officiating directive, the leaked memo, the referees' revolt, all of it had reached a breaking point, and the players were demanding answers. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m., but players started arriving at 9. The Fever's contingent walked in together: Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Cunningham, and White. The Suns players were already there. The Aces had sent a representative. Even the Valkyries, the team that had benefited from the no call that started it all, had someone present. The league office was represented by a delegation led by Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and WNBA President of Basketball Operations Bethany Donovan. They arrived with binders, legal teams, and prepared statements. They were expecting a conversation. What they got was an interrogation. Clark spoke first. She stood at the front of the room, facing the league officials, and did something she had never done before. She read from a prepared statement. "I have been targeted since the moment I stepped onto a WNBA court," Clark said, her voice steady but carrying an edge that silenced the room. "I have been poked in the eye. I have been body-checked on dead balls. I have been kneed in the groin. I have been punched in the throat. I have been told I'm the one initiating contact. I have been told to toughen up. I have been told to earn my stripes. And every single time the officials have looked the other way." She paused. The room was silent. "I'm not asking for special treatment," Clark continued. "I'm asking for equal treatment. I'm asking for the same calls that other players get. I'm asking for consistency. And I'm asking the league to protect every player, not just me." She sat down. The room erupted. Sophie Cunningham stood up next. "We've been saying this for years," Cunningham said. "We've been saying it on podcasts, in interviews, in locker rooms, and nobody listened. Now a memo gets leaked and everyone panics. That's not leadership. That's damage control." Aaliyah Boston stood up after Cunningham. "I've watched my teammate get targeted night after night," Boston said. "I've watched her get hurt. I've watched her get frustrated. And I've watched the league do nothing about it. The memo is a start, but it's not enough. We need accountability. We need consequences. And we need the officials to be held to the same standard as the players." Bethany Donovan, the WNBA's president of basketball operations, responded first. Her voice was measured, but her words were carefully chosen. "The league takes player safety seriously," she said. "The memo was intended to provide guidance to officials, not to dictate their calls. We believe that consistency is the foundation of fair officiating, and we are committed to working with the referees union to achieve that goal." The room remained silent. Players exchanged glances. The statement had said nothing. Commissioner Engelbert spoke next. She addressed Clark directly. "Caitlin, I want to thank you for your honesty," she said. "The league is listening.